Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted as always to be joined by Gregory Dole. This is a tactical insight video ahead of the big rematch between Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol taking place on February 22nd. In this video, we'll be discussing, or Greg will be telling us what Dmitry Bivol needs to do to get that win over Artur Beterbiev after that fight back in October. We'll also be looking at what else can Beterbiev do? Can Beterbiev get that stoppage this time round? Obviously, Bivol's the only guy he's faced that he's not beaten and stopped, and a couple of other things as well. Greg, good to be joined by you as always. It's a fight that doesn't need much selling, doesn't need much of an introduction. It was a fantastic fight back in October, and what's fantastic is we're getting the fight straight away again. No kind of fights in the interim. No one's taken a long time out the ring, and we are only a few days away from it now. I'll cast your mind back to October, Greg. Beterbiev, unanimous decision, all three scorecards, very close fight. A lot of people weren't happy with the scorecards. A lot of people thought Bivol won. Who do you think won that fight, in your opinion, and why, please?
Yeah, great to speak to you, Elliot. It's a really tight fight. I don't think it's a fight, Elliot, that's fair that you can turn around and say, this guy convincingly won that fight. He definitely won that. There was nothing in it, Elliot. Personally, I thought Bivol just nicked it, but I don't mind if you had it a draw. I don't mind if you had it Beterbiev by one. Me personally, I thought Bivol won because he had the superior boxing and the exchanges. I thought that you could look at the way that Beterbiev, he was chasing the fight, but you need to fight to your strengths. That's Artur Beterbiev's strength. I'm not a big fan in this score someone around because of aggression. You need to be landing. So I just thought that Bivol's work was just that little bit better than Beterbiev, but Beterbiev is as strong as a bull. It's so hard to look good against him, Elliot. So Bivol nicked it for me, but I don't have a problem with either three results.
Yeah, for sure. I think the only thing, if I was being fussy, I think one thing that's a shame, and although this wouldn't affect who actually won the fight, I think it's a shame that not one judge had it a draw or had Bivol winning. If you consider the general opinion is it could have gone either way, it's a shame that all three judges gave it to Beterbiev. I personally had Beterbiev just nicking it, but I'm the same as you. If it was a draw or Bivol won the fight, I'm okay with it. And at the end of the day, it was such a high level fight between two high class operators that didn't disappoint. And for me, that's the most important thing when you
Yeah.
sit down to watch a fight. Um, Once again, just fantastic that they're getting on again, and we'll see what happens. We'll dive into it, but I'm interested to see does this fight go to does this fight go the distance? Will it be close again? Who knows? We'll start off with the challenger, I suppose, Dmitry Bivol. I feel like it's a cheeky question to ask because he's an elite fighter. Then you're turning around and I'm now going to ask you, what does Bivol need to do? But I will ask you, what does Bivol need to do just to get this one over the line? Because he almost beat Beterbiev back in October, but it didn't quite happen. What more does Bivol need to do to get this decision win, in your opinion, Greg?
It's a great question, Elliot. As you know, I'm a big Bivol fan, but I really like Beterbiev as well. You've got to respect him massively. I feel I'm not going to sit here and say I know what he needs to do to beat Beterbiev, but I feel I'm very confident that there's something that he can do to give himself the best opportunity. But it's a risky tactic. He needs to get it right. We know that Beterbiev's going to be chasing him. The fight isn't going to be that much different, Elliot. If you want to slow Beterbiev down, I think he needs to throw a straight backhand to the body and then finish off to the head, but start with the backhand to the body. If you finish with the backhand, you're giving Beterbiev time to fire back because you might be a little bit fatigued because you've just threw 4 or 5 punches in a row and then you need to think about getting out of the way. If you start off with that backhand to the body and then you throw the three upstairs, your hands are going to be here instead of here. So it gives himself that opportunity to have his hands high and get out the way for the next attack. In doing that, he'll slow Beterbiev down because getting hit to the body slows anyone down, especially the centre of the body. So for me, I think he needs to start to target the body a little bit more with the beginning of attacks.
Yeah. Look, it's fascinating, isn't it? And it'll be fascinating to be in camp with these guys, especially with Bivol, because it
Yeah,
didn't get decision to know what the game plan is, what both guys are going to do differently, and can they execute it on the night, and how are those styles going to clash again? It's really no, look, it's really fascinating. One more question I've got for you on Bivol, um, Greg, is some people, not everyone, because there were so many different opinions about the first fight. Some people thought that it was a really, really close fight, and then Beterbiev just had a bit too much in the last 2 or 3 rounds, won those last 2 or 3 rounds, and therefore won the fight. Do you do you do you kind of appreciate slash you kind of agree with that opinion? And do you think that's kind of a factor going into that fight, going into this fight? It could come down to those last two or three, could come down to those last 2 or 3 rounds again.
Brilliant question, Elliot. Totally the one that I wanted you to ask me, because I do agree with people who say that. You think about it, you've got a guy who's running, not running, that's really not a fair way to put it. Tactically manoeuvring his way around the ring for 10 rounds or so, putting everything into this performance. You're going to slow down at some point. You can't fight at 100 miles per hour the whole fight. So Beterbiev did come into the fight strong in the last couple of rounds, but that's because Bivol was, he was relatively tired. So if you remember what I said in the previous question you asked me there, the only way that Bivol can combat that is by targeting the body, so that in the last 2 or 3 rounds, Beterbiev doesn't have that energy to come on again really late. So yeah, I totally agree with the people that had that opinion. He was very strong in the last couple of rounds, and Bivol was tired.
Yeah, and I think look, I love when a close fight finishes and analyzing the scorecards and seeing right
Yeah,
which judge gave which round to which fight and those sort of things. And it was really interesting to do at this time. One thing that really stands out to me is rounds 10, 11, and 12. All three judges gave all 3 rounds to Beterbiev, and I just think
yeah.
that's quite. That feels a bit harsh on Bivol to me that not one judge gave him one of those last 3 rounds, but it's quite damning that those are the facts, and indeed, and really Bivol was at the end of round 9 was winning the fight on all the scorecards, and by the end of round 12 he was losing the fight on all scorecards as well. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Moving over to Artur Beterbiev, Greg, the winner in the first fight, 40 years old now. Could be his last fight. We don't know what kind of his plans after Bivol are, win or lose, but what do you think Beterbiev needs to do? What could he improve on, if anything?
Um, for me, Beterbiev just needs to make Bivol work that little bit harder in some of the rounds. It's harsh to say because these guys are two elite fighters, and I feel like I'm basically saying what they could do better. But that's why we're here at ESBR, is to talk about these things. It's to see how we see the rematches and things going. But I think if he makes Bivol work that little bit harder, he's going to have even more to play with in the last maybe 4 rounds instead of 3 rounds. So some of the exchanges when Bivol, if you watch it, when Bivol was landing combinations on Beterbiev, they're going to hurt. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. Bivol's a puncher as well. He might not have the record to show it, but he can ice people. Um, I just feel that Beterbiev was maybe letting him away a little bit with admiring his work and then moving away. Whereas if he basically stalked him very quickly after Bivol had thrown, it forces Bivol to throw again, so it tires him out. So I just think he needs to make Bivol work that little bit harder if he can, and it goes in Beterbiev's favour.
Yeah, yeah. Look, it's interesting, isn't it? And I just think we're recording this 2.5 weeks before the fight, aren't we? And doing these sort of videos, it really makes me look forward to it that bit more. So not too long to wait. And of course, look, such a fantastic card as well that we kind of really don't need to go into. It's going to be quite a night. All right, Greg, is that time again? I'm going to join you in kind of giving a prediction. As I've said, this is 2.5 weeks out, and opinions change, mindsets change. Obviously, I'm looking forward to the weigh-in on this one as well. How easily is Beterbiev making 175 pounds these days? Um, and it's going to be it's going to be a really, I'm sure, a fascinating fight week to um to to look forward to as well. I'll let you go first. Where's your head out now, Greg? Because I know you picked Bivol the first time and you thought Bivol won the first fight, which is completely fair. But yeah, what do you think is going to happen on February 22nd?
It's a really hard fight to call, isn't it, Elliot? And you know, something that makes it even that bit harder. I get the feeling these two really don't like each other. They don't need to sit at a table and badmouth each other. They don't call each other derogatory names. They're refusing to shake hands. Bivol is basically saying, I don't need to do much more than what I've already done. I just need to correct some little bits. Beterbiev saying he doesn't need to be any different. At this moment in time, oh, I feel like Bivol may just nick it, but at the same time, Beterbiev is a clever fighter who learns from his mistakes, and that puts fear into me because I know I've seen him correcting his mistakes in the past. So honestly, Elliot, you could toss a coin, but at this present moment in time, I favour just with the youth and the boxing ability of Bivol.
Yeah, yeah, it's a really tough one. I'm again, look, we could both change our minds, couldn't we? And I'm going for Beterbiev, but I feel like in a week's time you could be going for Beterbiev and I could be going for Bivol. Um, at this moment, I'm going for Beterbiev. I just think that he is someone who just doesn't seem to stop, doesn't seem to slow down, and I can't get the last three rounds of the first fight out of my head. Um, there's I wouldn't rule out you can't rule out the Beterbiev stoppage either
Yeah,
in this fight, but I'm going for a Beterbiev points win. But no, it's a really tricky one, isn't it? And look, we're just
hard fight.
yeah, we're just really looking forward to it. And at the same time, this could, as I said, this could be Beterbiev's last fight. Bivol, not a young fighter either, so enjoy these fights whilst they happen. Because after this fight, both fighters could be past their best. Bivol could be thinking about retiring in the next year or so. So really enjoy these guys whilst they are still here. Greg, good to be joined by you as always. If you're watching this video, if you've enjoyed this video, please do subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already, and let us know your thoughts as well. Who do you think is going to win? How does each fighter win? And anything else that you want to say. Greg, thank you very much for your time, and I'll speak to you again very soon.
Thanks again, Elliot.